Hi, everyone. Welcome to the program. As you know, Hurricane Helene left catastrophic devastation throughout the South. At the very least, 90 people have died, millions still without power.
Flooding in western North Carolina took dozens of lives and stranded hundreds more. Rescue crews continue to search for the missing. Relief efforts are underway, and CBN's Operation Blessing is on the ground. Wendy Griffith has more.
Helene made landfall as a powerful Category 4 hurricane, slamming Florida's Big Bend region late Thursday night.
This is the third storm in a year. I don't know how much more we can take.
In the mountains of North Carolina, as much as 30 inches of rain fell.
It's heartbreaking because along this river, we have a lot of wonderful stores, and we're going to be cleaning up a long time.
Asheville largely cut off by washed out roads, a lack of power, and no cell phone service. The city's water system severely damaged as well. Officials are working to get residents the help they need.
My staff has been making every request possible to the state for support, and we've been working with every single organization that has reached out. My promise to you is that we are very close.
In North Carolina, FEMA's administrator telling CBS News they're still in active search and rescue mode.
I don't know that anybody could be fully prepared for the amount of flooding and landslides that they are experiencing right now. But we have had teams in there for several days. We're sending more search and rescue teams in there. Water is a big concern right now as well, and so we have sent bottled water in, but we also have the Army Corps of Engineers that's getting ready to start assessments today to see what we can do to help get those water systems back online.
President Biden issued disaster declarations for several states.
We've given them all everything that we have. We're on the ground ahead of time, so we're working hard.
Similar devastation in Tennessee. Governor Bill Lee touring some of the hardest hit areas on Saturday. Buildings destroyed, bridges and roadways crumbled. CBN's Operation Blessing on the ground in Valdosta, Georgia, working with Anchor Faith Church.
Being able to partner with Operation Blessing to serve our community, cleaning supplies, hygiene kits, food, even prepping hot meals here, been able to set up a base and station here at our church facility. It's just been exciting and been an awesome opportunity to be able to blessing to our community.
The team bringing cleanup equipment and a mobile kitchen to serve hot meals. They're also signing up volunteers and going into neighborhoods offering spiritual support and helping clean up the debris left by Helene.
Appreciate y'all here. Y'all doing a great job.
A team from Operation Blessing is also on the ground in North Carolina, beginning to assess needs and bringing food and other necessities for those devastated by this storm. Wendy Griffith, CBN News.
You saw the work already being done in Valdosta, Georgia by Operation Blessing. They're on the ground doing work as we speak, helping people remove trees from their property, giving hot meals to families and relief workers, hygiene kits. As also mentioned by Wendy, they are now in North Carolina assessing a catastrophic situation as this storm moved north. The damage has been unbelievable. Now's the time to help. We need to help people. They need to hear from us. You can give to Operation Blessing Disaster Relief by giving us a call, 1-800-700-7000, or you can go to Operation Blessing's website. That's ob.org/obdisaster, ob.org/obdisaster. We can put an arm around people and say you are loved, you are cared for, and also provide tangible needs like water and hot food. And people need hope in this time, and the body of Christ can do that. And thank you to those of you who over the weekend donated. We're already in action. In other news, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the world is waking up to a new reality in the Middle East. Days after the elimination of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah, Israel continues to target what's left of the terror group's leadership. It's also carrying out long-range strikes against the Houthis in Yemen. Chris Mitchell has more.
After eliminating Nasrallah and most of the Hezbollah leadership, Israeli jets continue targeting the remaining leaders, including a strike deep into the heart of Beirut early Monday. Netanyahu says Israel will continue attacking the terror group and taking on other threats in the region.
We're changing the strategic reality in the Middle East. Changing the balance of power brings with it the possibility of creating new alliances in our region because of a simple reason. because we're winning. Our enemies and our friends return to see Israel as it really is, a strong country, a determined country, a powerful country.
Netanyahu explained why Israel targeted the Hezbollah leader.
Nasrallah was not another terrorist. He was the terrorist. He was the axis of the axis, the central engine of Israel's axis of evil. He and his people were the architects of the plan to destroy Israel.
Islamic jihadists and their allies are mourning Nasrallah's death and swearing revenge. In the Iranian parliament and on the streets of Tehran, shouts of death to Israel rang out.
We want retaliation, a quick retaliation. We will definitely take revenge for Hassan Nasrallah's death.
Throughout Israel and even other parts of the Middle East, many celebrated. Israelis danced in Dimona, and Syrian rebels, who've long been targeted by Hezbollah in Syria, set off fireworks and celebrated. Israel is also carrying out powerful attacks on the Houthis in Yemen after they tried to hit Ben Gurion Airport this past weekend as Netanyahu returned from addressing the United Nations. In a veiled threat to Iran, the Israeli military chief of staff says the Jewish state can reach any enemy, no matter how distant.
We know how to reach very far. We know how to reach even farther, and we know how to strike there with precision.
In the U.S., the Biden administration is still calling on Israel to put the brakes on in Lebanon to avoid all-out war.
Can an all-out war in the Middle East be avoided? It has to do. We really have to avoid this.
Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo disagrees.
We should be saying plain and clear, finish the job. Nasrallah would be alive today if the Biden administration ceasefire had gone into effect. The entire Hezbollah leadership would be alive today if the Israelis had agreed to the ceasefire.
Well, Chris joins us now from Jerusalem. Chris, I'm so glad to hear this news cycle just moves so fast daily. What's next in Israel's military operations against Hezbollah? Is a ground invasion still possible at this point?
Andrew, I think it's not only possible, but likely inevitable. We're already hearing reports of Israeli special forces that have been taking raids into Lebanon, actually, for the last recent months. And they include using Hezbollah tunnels to go across the border. CBN News was in one of those tunnels a few years ago. They're long, they're deep. And these raids could be preparation for a wider ground operation that some believe could come as soon as this week. The Israeli defense minister said to troops on the border, the elimination of Nasrallah was an important step, but not the end. And that he said, we need you too, and that would be boots on the ground. So it really does seem inevitable. Israel's been preparing for something like this for months, calling up reserves, training, massing armor and tanks. And one of the objectives is to create a safe zone, Andrew, from the Blue Line all the way to the Litani River inside Lebanon. And yet there's thousands of Hezbollah fighters remaining, many in tunnels, but it's necessary for these residents of the north to go back home to have a safe zone there inside Lebanon.
So every day, it seems we're seeing Hezbollah's leadership being decimated, weapons degraded. Is it still a strong fighting force at this point?
Well, they still do have thousands of fighters, Andrew, but the question is, after the Biba fiasco, a couple of weeks ago, that left thousands of Hezbollah fighters disabled, blind, injured. Some were killed in that fiasco. The question is, how well coordinated are they? And are they communicating if they're not using cell phones like they were told not to? And as you mentioned, the command structure has been decimated. They still do have thousands of rockets, but the Israeli Air Force is striking them almost daily. There were more than 120 strikes today. They have a new leader, Andrew, but how long will he last? They've been fighting. They've been killing one leader after another. And so Hezbollah is certainly not the fighting force it was just 2 weeks ago.
So how badly has Hezbollah's image been weakened? Is it possible the people of Lebanon will turn on them, or will they rally for them at this point with all that's going on?
Well, their image has really been weakened significantly, and right now there's a political and a military vacuum inside Lebanon and also inside our potential allies to Israel. And Netanyahu has said, there's a changing balance of power in the Middle East and new alliances, and could they be forming behind the scenes? And are we at a tipping point inside Lebanon? And I think this is very important, Andrew. I got a message from an intercessor inside Lebanon, and he asked, asked, do we dare pray for a new Middle East after all these things in the last couple of weeks? Is it time, he asks, for Lebanon to sign a peace treaty with Israel like Egypt and Jordan? A time for Lebanon to embrace the Abraham Accords? And he said it's very important to pray against civil strife in Lebanon, and especially between Shiites and Sunnis. Lebanon has a history of civil war, so pray for unity. And people should know that inside Lebanon, throughout the Middle East, there's really a fervent prayer movement going on throughout the region.
Chris, we can't have this conversation without mentioning Iran. So how are they responding to this decimation of its proxy army in Lebanon?
Well, I'd say, first of all, Andrew, just in the last hour or so, Benjamin Netanyahu spoke directly to the Iranian people and telling him, don't let the regime lead you into the abyss. In terms of how Iran is reacting to this, there's a cartoon of Hezbollah climbing up a rope, and at the top of the rope, Iran is letting the rope go. And it really kind of sums up how Iran's not backing up its biggest proxy in the region. And I think we're in a new Middle East. Hezbollah has been decimated. Hamas is gone. So Iran is really on the defensive. It knows its oil and nuclear facilities are vulnerable. That's how the IDF chief alluded to. And so Israel's on the rise. So I think right now we're in a new paradigm. How we go from here is a huge question. So very important to pray for Israel and the whole Middle East.
All right, Chris Mitchell. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.